Folks, last week we talked about the strongest playable characters in the lore. That was cute. That was safe. This week we step somewhere we were never meant to look, because hidden deep in the lore are entities so unfathomably powerful that Teyvat itself pretends they don't exist, not out of ignorance, but out of fear. Reality doesn't fight them, it just doesn't resist. Magic, their design. Physics, their whim. Storytelling, their invention. Across the oldest ruins in the lore, civilizations that mastered magic, bent time, spoke with gods. There's always the same ending, not war, not plague, not natural disaster, just silence. Cities frozen mid-life, towers still standing. History collapses. That's the legacy of the beings. Erasure. They don't rule the world, they just make sure no one else ever gets to. So welcome, my friends, to the 10 strongest characters in Genshin Impact by lore ever, starting with number 10, the 10th strongest person Teyvat has ever seen, the visionary Vedrfolnir. Hailing from Conria, Vedrfolnir was one of the 6 greats of the nation and closest ally to King Ermin due to his ability to see the future. Unbeknownst to all, however, Vedrfolnir would occasionally hear a voice in his head that would lure him to the abyss, and on the day of the cataclysm 500 years ago, Vedrfolnir would split massive amounts of abyssal power with 4 other individuals, granting him strength that could destroy the world, and becoming one of the 5 sinners of Conria. For reference, another sinner, the Rayher of Solnari Rerir, at merely 10% strength, was a threat to all of Nod-krai. It's perhaps due to this we've seen Vedrfolnir do things no one else has ever done. For instance, a small bit of the abyssal power Vedrfolnir gave to Clothar Alberich was able to impart Cure Kari Bear to the point it made him lucid, and Vedrfolnir most likely had a hand in Clothar's death, which should have been impossible, given Clothar was struck with the curse of immortality laid down by the Shade of Death Ronova at the behest of the Heavenly Principles. It's likely due to these feats. Before his death, Clothar founded the Abyss Order, which is the organization Vedrfolnir leads alongside the Abyss Sibiling, and speaking of, it was likely Vedrfolnir who hid the Sibiling's fate from Irminsul, making even the God of Wisdom uneasy at what else this individual could be capable of. Further, Vedrfolnir's ability to see the future is nigh unlimited. He's one of the 2 confirmed visionaries in Teyvat, meaning he can read the fate of the entire world. And lastly, it was him who prophesied Fontaine's impending disaster. The 9th most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen is the foul Surtalogi. Nope, I can't do it. I gotta drop the persona for this guy. Surtalogi, this guy's a fucking pussy, man. A dork! One of the 5 sinners of Conria who split the abyssal power alongside the likes of Vedrfolnir and, well, no, the rest of them. He's a fighting maniac, but get this, he'd leave this planet almost immediately after gaining his power, because according to him, this planet holds nothing of interest. Is anyone buying this, bro? I have seen everyone from Abyss niggas to Celestia niggas clown this motherfucker. What? Bro, how can you possibly claim you're the strongest when you didn't fight anyone, you fucking clown? Fuck you, bro. The only confirmed verifiable feat I will give this nigga twofold. He made the all-devouring Narwhal, a being capable of plundering entire worlds, his bitch. You know, good for you. You could beat a whale. You want a fucking cookie? The Japanese kill like 300 a year. And for the record, I'll believe he's capable of removing the curse of immortality, like when he offered to do it for Skofnunger, but the horseshit in Skirk's character story, come on down, Mr. Statements! Quote, a weapon forged using the pooled resources of an entire star system. A god manifested by the unity of a civilization's beliefs. The mightiest warrior among billions. He buried them all, and as Skirk grew from strength to strength, a revelation came upon her. Nobody had ever forced her master to use the true extent of his power. Her master, whose true name was Surtalogi, replied thusly, I may be the greatest calamity in the whole universe. Bro, I get this nigga to fuck up off the list, bro. On to the next person. The 8th most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen. Brings me great pain. Great pain to put her here. It's our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, Asmoday. One of the 4 shades, Asmoday was created at the dawn of time by the heavenly principles, one of its shadows, alongside the heavenly principles, Asmoday took down the 7 sovereigns, and then vanished from the history books for over 10,000 years before popping back up during the Cataclysm, in which she would save the land with her cubes, which were plenty abundant on that day, and an instant teleport to the Travelers, 1v2, fight them in a fight that lasted maybe 30 seconds, box them up, strip the Travelers' powers, and send them on back to Teyvats, and then vanish from the history books for the next 500 years. So, this remains Asmoday's biggest problem, is we simply don't know anything about her. As the ruler of space, however, we know she can create spaces, and spaces tainted by her can make all life unstable and cease to exist, as Rhinedottire told us in the God's Limit teaser. But again, outside of this, we have nothing, and given we maintain strict neutrality on this channel, I cannot afford to be biased. But one thing worth mentioning, not just for Asmoday, but for all the Shades and the Heavenly Principles, is they exist above and beyond the rules and fates they've imposed on the beings of Teyvats. This is why I have the Shades above the Moon Goddesses.
Someone of your talent and experience must surely know of the 4 great rulers who serve the heavenly principles. They govern life, death, time, and space. One wounded by a blade will die from blood loss or infection, and one who falls into a lake will drown in agony. The elderly wallow in solitude, and the solitary age faster. Eventually, new life is born, only to embark on the same path of suffering. These 4 divisions anchor the world and shackle those who live in it. But they themselves transcend its boundaries, squandering the power bestowed by the heavens. All who live yearn for equality, but unless the gods prostrate themselves and profess that they are mere servants of the living, equality can never exist. Who makes the rules we must live by? Who has the right to restrict us?
The 7th most powerful being Teyvat has ever known is Istaroth, the Shade of Time. Istaroth was created at the dawn of time by the Heavenly Principles, one of its shadows. Alongside the Heavenly Principles, Istaroth took down the 7 sovereigns. Istaroth would then appear sparingly throughout history, mostly in bids to guide humanity, like when she beamed into Abaraku's head the instructions to build the Dainichi Mikoshi, an underground sun. As the ruler of time, naturally, a lot of the instances of her using her power relate to time. For instance, the sacred Sakura was technically planted only after A's second story quest, yet it's existed long in the past for hundreds, if not thousands of years. A attributed this to Istaroth. When Dirideth brought the future traveler's key to the past Sibiling, ensuring they met, this created a bootstrap paradox in Teyvat's history. This was Istaroth's doing. When Zibai was mere seconds before death, her soul was wholly preserved. This was Istaroth's doing. When Venti blew the Mare Javari off the timeline, he used Istaroth's power. Hell, in the God's Limit teaser, we watch her turn a dying branch into a new bud. She's complete dominion over time. The 6th most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen is Ronova, the ruler of death. Ronova was created at the dawn of time by the Heavenly Principles, one of its shadows. Alongside the Heavenly Principles, Ronova took down the 7 sovereigns and has since sparingly appeared throughout history. It was under her guidance that the Lord of the Night created the Night's Kingdom, and it was with her blessing Notlan warriors could defy death in the Night Kingdom wars. It was with her power Malika ruptured the sky. It was with her power Sibiling was able to return in the present despite having died thousands of years ago, and it was with her power all the pure-blooded Conrians have been struck with the curse of immortality. Alongside absolute control of the death of living beings, in the God's Limit teaser, we watch Ronova kill a space, an entire swath of existence. No fire, no rubble, only erasure. This is what it means to have complete control over death. The 5th most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen is Alice, Grand Mage and leader of the Hexen Circle. Do not be fooled by her nonchalance and playful attitude. Alice is a certified killer. As the one who sustains the world's borders, we now know just how ludicrous that statement is, given the borders of Teyvat seemingly extend hundreds, if not thousands of miles above the world of Teyvat itself. And keep in mind, it's a dome and she sustains it all. Despite not originally hailing from Teyvat, Alice has since taken up residence in this world and quickly become one of its most powerful denizens. Being called nigh omnipotent by Albedo, it'd probably be easier to list the things she can't do rather than she can. Complete mastery in fields like astrology and alchemy, she can even rival her fellow witches in the Hexen Circle. There's a reason when Columbina was disappearing from Teyvats, they all, including the Angel of Nicole, turned to Alice's words to figure out how to save her. What makes Alice especially dangerous in my eyes is the fact she knows the truth regarding Teyvat's history. She knows what the Heavenly Principles are capable of, but she doesn't care, which indicates her power runs deeper than we could have possibly imagined. The fourth most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen is Rhinedottire, one of the 5 sinners of Conria, one of the members of the Hexen Circle, merging with one of the 4 shades of the Heavenly Principles, has given birth to this monstrosity, Rhineberius. Rhinedottire, even before becoming a sinner, was a mad alchemist, and the only person in Teyvat's history to master the art of chemia, an alchemical practice focused on the creation of life. Throw in the Abyss, and she's created Rift Wolves, the Great Wolf Lord, the Black Dragon Doran, Elinos, 2 Albedos, and perhaps most terrifyingly, Bakanawa, an immortal beast altering the flow of time in the Mare Javari. No single person has wrought more havoc on Teyvat than Rhinedottire, and she's now merged with Nibelung, the Shade of Life. Nibelung was created at the dawn of time by the Heavenly Principles. One of its shadows, alongside the Heavenly Principles, Nibelung took down the 7 sovereigns and would go on to create the flora and fauna that fills Teyvat to this very day. And she would even go on to create the first Hydro Archon, Egeria. These are the 2 powers that have merged, folks, and although Nibelung has lost all agency as a result, she doesn't seem too worried. While it's not known if Rhinedottire retained her share of the abyssal power she split as a sinner, if she did, she's no doubt the 2nd most powerful being on Teyvat today. The 3rd most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen is Teyvat's original ruler, the Dragon King Nibelung. Born alongside the world of Teyvat itself, the Dragon King was once a shining beacon of light that would radiate even the darkest depths of the universe. As the Dragon King, he oversaw his race's advancements in technology that would help them reach the stars, and just before setting out for the stars himself, he'd create the 3 Moon Sisters, goddesses who would govern the laws of Teyvat in his absence. Nibelung would be gone from Teyvat for thousands of years before returning as the 2nd Ascender, now corrupted by the Abyss and forbidden knowledge. With a will now rivaling that of an entire world, Nibelung would cause a war on a scale Teyvat has never seen before. The world itself was on the brink of complete annihilation, but Nibelung would then be destroyed by the Heavenly Principles, but not without severely wounding them first. The 2nd most powerful entity the world of Teyvat has ever seen is the Abyss. It isn't a character in the traditional sense. It doesn't have a face, a name, or a will that can be bargained with. The Abyss is the all-consuming darkness at the heart of everything, playing a role in the ongoing death of the universe. It's a void that's been quietly swallowing the universe. Stars die in its shadow, galaxies fade, worlds collapse. It's all that surrounds the world of Teyvat, and from it, nearly every monster, every unspeakable horror has been born. It is both cradle and grave, source and end. It is both everything and nothing at once. It's a location, a realm, a power, an energy that defies comprehension. It has no face, no heartbeat, no intentions that mortals nor gods can grasp, yet its influence is everywhere, shaping life, death, and the spaces in between. To exist near it is to feel the weight of infinity pressing against your mind, reminding you that the world you know is nothing more than a bubble floating inside something far older, far larger, and far more indifferent than you could have ever imagined. Nothing, and I mean nothing, can withstand the overwhelming power of the Abyss. And yet, there's someone that stands against
Lucy, offer Mr. Mortman a meatball.
delicious. What's for dinner?
Well, it was going to be a surprise, but...
Since you asked, you are.
Alone, unyielding, uncorrupted, facing the all-consuming darkness that has erased civilizations, devoured reality itself, and left entire galaxies trembling in silence. Perhaps they're not stronger in raw force. Perhaps the Abyss could snuff them out in an instant, even a mortal wounds, but they would endure. They would resist. They defy what no one else has ever survived. How could I then not place them at number 1 as the most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen? Not because they overpower the Abyss, but because they stand against it. Because in a universe defined by annihilation, resistance is the truest form of power, and now we arrive at the being who embodies that impossible defiance, the one who refuses to yield even when infinity itself would crumble, because the strongest being Teyvat has ever seen, will ever see, is the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars, the first descender, the heavenly principles, the king of the heavens, great ruler of the firmament, the winged one, the lord of the 7 calamities, the lord of hosts, the lord of the heavenly city, the lord of the eternal heavens, the lord of the sky, father of all and mother of the gods, master of the four shades, Pete Camus, famed, the all-plunderer, master of fate and the god of his world. It was the heavenly principles who journeyed through the sea of stars, brought humanity onto this world, rid it of those beastly dragons, and threw up an eggshell around the entire star system to keep the Abyss out. They journeyed through the sea of stars, where no life should have survived. They waded through its corruption and chaos, and emerged unbroken. They brought humanity to this world, carving a home from a cosmos that would have swallowed them without a second thought. They purged the beastly dragons that threatened to consume it. That's exactly what they tried to do, bending life itself towards survival. And when the Abyss crept too close, its darkness pressing against the very edges of reality, they raised an eggshell around the star system, a fortress of light, in order to keep the devouring void at bay. They are not simply powerful, they are defiance made flesh. They are the impossible, the exception, the fracture and inevitability, the bending of laws, the whisper that reshapes existence, the echo that outruns time, the shadow that outlasts darkness, the silence that devours sound, the constant in chaos, the shape that refuses shape, the unthinkable thoughts, the eye that sees beyond the end, the hand that folds space, the heartbeat outside time, the never-fading star in a void of nothing, the unmade and remade, the rift that splits worlds, the impossibility that stares back at infinity itself. But most importantly, they are the one who faces the all-consuming darkness and refuses to be claimed, not just on their behalf, but on all of humanity's behalf. So yes, if some nations need to be destroyed so that all of humanity can go on living, and if my nation had to be the one to go, I'd drop-kick the screaming child into the next room, exit my house, look up at the sky and open my arms with joy, pleading, screaming, yes, please, Divine Nail, strike me! They make the tough decisions. And that is why they are number 1.